Welcome to tonight's License Subcommittee meeting. The meeting is being broadcast live on Council's YouTube channel. My name is Councillor Mercy Ume. And I'll be chairing tonight's meeting. If I lose connection and cannot reconnect, Councillor Florence Chavede will take over for me. I would like to remind all participants a few housekeeping points. Please keep your microphone muted unless you are speaking. Please keep your camera turned on when you speak at the hearing. Please note that the chat function has been disabled. If parties wish to add any additional information other than at the allocated time to speak, they must use their raise hand function so that they are not missed. I also ask that members keep their questions and comments brief to the point. Now, I would like to go to item 1 on the agenda. Item 1 on agenda, apologies of absent, none was received. Item 2, declaration of interest. Do members have any declaration of interest?
No, Chair.
No, Chair. Thank you. Item 3, Papa John's Pizza. I would like to ask everyone participating to introduce yourself as I call on you. We should have with us, I'll call by first names, I hope you don't mind. We have Troy Singh, our operator director. Is he here? Thank you. We have Edwin, HR head of people, the applicant, she's here. We have Julianne, marketing manager, the applicant, she's here. Okay, thank you. We have Edwin, licensing policy enforcement manager.
Present, Chair, thank you.
Thank you. We have Lona, licensing officer, scheduling the meeting.
Present, Chair.
Thank you. We have our legal officer, Gata. She's here.
Present. Good evening, Chair.
Thank you. Now we go to the objectors. We have Ingrid. Is she here?
She hasn't joined, Chair, no.
Okay. We have Caroline.
She hasn't joined either, Chair.
Oh. We have Lucia. She hasn't joined. We have John.
Yes, she has, Chair. Yes, she's joined.
Okay, she has. Okay.
Lucilla's here.
Okay. We have Catherine.
Yes, I'm here.
We have Charlotte. Charlotte Dexter.
She's here.
Okay, she's
Yes,
here.
I'm here. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, then we have the ward councillor, Councillor Ben Coleman.
I'm here. Yep.
Okay, thank you. Now the procedure. Before we consider the application for, before we consider the application today, I will confirm that in addition to the main agenda, a supplement agenda was published on 13th February 2023, and another supplement agenda was published today, and all of this supplements has been circulated to all parties. May I quickly explain the procedure the committee will follow? We will hear from the following. The licensing officer will introduce the application, the objectors who have registered to speak, then the ward councillor, finally, representation of the applicants. Usually, each party will address the committee once for a maximum of 5 minutes. Following the presentation by all parties, the committee may ask questions to any party or other person present at the hearing. No party has the right to ask questions to any other party at any time during the hearing. Following the presentations and questioning, each party will be allowed a maximum of 3 minutes to sum up their case or representation. The committee will then retire for deliberation. Upon its return, I will announce the committee's decision. Please keep your remarks as concise as possible. The licensing officer can we ask the licensing officer, Lorna, to introduce the application?
Yes, thank you, Chair. On the 4th of November 2022, DFSI M25 Limited, the applicant, submitted an application to the licensing authority to vary their premises licence in respect of the premises known as Papa John's Pizza, 63 Walham Grove, London, SW6 1QR. The premises currently benefits from a premises licence, and the current premises licence permits the following: provision of late night refreshment indoors only, Monday to Sunday from 11 p.m. till 11:30 p.m. The applicant had applied to vary the hours for the licensable activities on the premises licence and add and remove and vary some conditions as outlined in the report. The licensable activities that were initially applied for was the provision of late night refreshments on and off the premises, Monday to Sunday from 2300 hours to 2 a.m. It is important to note that on the 1st of December 2022, following correspondence received from the police, the applicant has agreed to reduce the hours which they initially applied for and add extra conditions to license if granted. A copy of this amendment and relevant correspondence can be seen on pages 29 to 33 of this report. The new agreed hours with the police were the provision of late night refreshments both on and off the premises, Sunday to Thursday from 2300 hours till midnight, and Friday and Saturday 2300 hours till 12:30. During the consultation period, the licensing authority has received 16 representations in objection to the application, 1 representation from the Ward Councillor Ben Coleman and 15 representations from residents. There was no representations received during the consultation period from any responsible authorities, and the application was advertised in line with the regulations of the Licensing Act 2003. The report indicates that there has been previous enforcement action identified, which can be viewed in section 4.1 of the report on page 5. Further to this report being published, there has been no further enforcement action. The licensing enforcement team have carried out further test purchases on the 25th of November 2022, the 26th of November 2022, and the 27th of January 2023, and all which were passed by the premises. There has been 2 further supplementary agendas which have been submitted, which include further evidence from an objector inclusive of crime reference numbers related to the premises and evidence from opening times found online. I can confirm that all supplementary agendas have been circulated to all parties. Thank you, Chair. You're on mute, Chair.
Thank you, Lorna. Please, can we hear from the objector? Is Ingrid here?
No, she's not, Chair.
Okay. Is Caroline here?
No, she's not, Chair.
Catherine?
Yes, I'm
Yes.
here.
Yeah, Catherine. Can we start with Catherine then?
Yes, I object because this is a residential area and we constantly have people who come to Papa John's and they come in their cars late at night. They sit outside our houses with their loud music blaring from their cars, and they just throw their, their pizza boxes onto the street. And I just think that this, this is a street with families on it. There's no reason to have these, ultra late hours. We just don't need it. This is a residential street with families. We don't, this isn't Piccadilly Circus.
Okay. Is that you finished, or you want to continue?
No, I think that I've made my point.
Okay.
This is changing the character of the street completely to what it was when we moved here.
Okay.
And all these shops down at that end that want to extend their hours, and other shops that want to sell alcohol late at night. This is not the character of the street. You're substantially changing the character of Walham Grove, and it's not what people who live here want.
Okay. All right. In that case, thank you very much, Caroline. Catherine, thank you very much, Catherine. And Catherine has spoken for 2 minutes. So just to be aware, everyone is allowed 5 minutes to speak. So if anyone chooses to say less, that's fine. In that case, Ingrid is still not here. Okay, can I go to Lucia? You have 5 minutes. Okay, thank you.
Lucilla, sorry, you'll have to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now? Okay. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, fine, thank you. So I've listed five issues: crime and disorder, public nuisance, public safety, and prevention of children from harm. Just crime and disorder. We were just speaking earlier at actually a meeting about making Fulham Grove a one-way street, and I didn't actually realise that there are two gangs that operating in the north and south end of, I think, Fulham, the North End Road. And I myself have actually come across some of these gang members, and because of the litter that they leave in the street, and I've actually asked them very nicely to pick it up and take it away. But we have forgotten that late night venues do attract people of to do whatever illicit drug dealing or whatever, and there are not the members of the public around to spot any of this, and so of course they feel free to do whatever they want to do. And there's obviously the scarcity of the police as well. There was Sam Coulter who was murdered, so you know I don't think the gangs have necessarily gone away just because he lost his life. I'm sure the issue continues. I think Catherine's outlined the public nuisance bit. Public safety, there's loitering and antisocial behaviour. As I've just said, there are less members of the public out and about in the streets late at night and early hours of the morning who may act as witnesses or deterrents to antisocial behaviour. And also the prevention of children from harm. Fast food outlets are popular among young people. I have no problem with that, but problems arise when young people are tempted to stay out later at night on a regular basis. Apart from the effect on health and well-being that such lifestyle encourages, they are also exposed to potential illegal activity. So I have nothing against Papa John's. I mean, we go there ourselves, but I don't want people going there, and particularly not for it to become a magnet of attraction for illicit drug dealing and those sort of people to be hanging out there late at night when there's nobody around really keeping an eye on things. So yeah, I think it's Soho light. I don't think we want it. That's really my point.
Thank you very much, Lucia. And must say she spent 3 minutes. Okay, I'm going to ask John to speak since I'm not sure Ingrid is here at the moment. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I hope you can hear me.
Can hear you, thanks.
Thank you. I have 4 points, but I'd like to start with a fundamental point, which is the point concerning the past behaviour of the applicant. In the submission, at page 43, we have evidence of, very clear evidence, of multiple breaches over a period of time as regards the licence rules. We have my evidence at page 53, and as you've referred to on page 5, we have the warning letter that was issued. In addition to that, we have Papa John's itself. If you go to papajohns.co.uk/stores/Fulham, you will see that they advertise 7 days a week as being open till 3 o'clock in the morning. Now, I would like to pass this off as being a momentary lapse or lip service, but actually I don't think it is. What concerns me here is that fundamentally, this is an organisation that does not have in place the right controls. It does not regard or have regard to the impact that breaching the licensing rules will have on the community, whether in respect of crime or whether in respect of noise or nuisance, all of which are very well and sadly detailed in the application. Not only are they disregarding the rules, but they're disregarding the process. This application doesn't show any consultation with the residents. It doesn't show any assessment of the impact on residents. and that against a backdrop of quite clearly multiple breaches. I think in particular the supplementary evidence today, I didn't count in total, but I think it evidenced 25 additional breaches after the permitted licensing hours. And that raises a fundamental question. And it may be, Madam Chair, that you feel at this stage we ought to ask the applicant to explain the position. But why should an applicant be rewarded when they have consistently shown over a period of time systematic and regular breaches of the licensing rules? It cannot be right that this process allows applicants who disregard the rules to the detriment of the community and the residents to come here and not address those issues in detail at all and be allowed to benefit given the status of their of the past breaches. I'm going to pause there, Madam Chair, just in case, because I believe it is such a fundamental issue. I do not believe that a reasonable committee can reach any other conclusion than either to reject this or to ask the applicant to withdraw it, because it is not clear to me that the committee should be allowing any extension, even 1 minute, to an entity or applicant that has a proven track record of blatantly and publicly disregarding the licensing rules. I, of course, think the applicant should be allowed to answer that point. And Madam Chair, if you think now is a good time for them to explain themselves, that would be great. But if you don't, I still believe the process is fundamentally flawed if anything other than a complete rejection or asking them to withdraw their application is required. My own personal view is that we should have at least a year, possibly 2, where we have evidence over a long period of time of compliance with the rules, not evidence as we have over a long period of time of non-compliance. And I feel that is a fundamental point. Any decision to grant any aspect in favour of the applicant by this licensing committee, I believe, would be fundamentally flawed in light of that evidence, and I believe will be immediately appealable. Madam Chair, do you want to address that issue with the applicant?
At the moment, I have to allow everyone to speak before I can, and I need them to speak as well. So you have spoken for 4 minutes. So I'm adding all this because I'm going to allow the applicant the same amount of minutes to speak. So that's why. Thank you very much, John, for that.
Okay, I haven't finished, by the way.
Oh,
That's
you
my
haven't? Oh,
no.
You see, like I said, how this operates is that all of you have to speak for 5 minutes. Then the applicants have to address us. Then we have to ask questions. Not when you are speaking, after speaking, we ask questions. It doesn't. We have to hear everybody, then we ask questions. Okay, so I'm going to allow you just a minute more to speak.
Okay, so firstly, Madam Chair, can I just ask, do you accept that the past behaviour of the applicant is a fundamental issue with this application?
I cannot answer that question at the moment until I hear from them as well. Okay.
So the other issues have been well documented. The report at page 32 clearly states in relation to crime and disorder that this is an area of high antisocial behaviour and significant crime rates. That has been well documented. I understand that there have been recent arrests in the area, and of course we have the tragic circumstances, I believe in 2016, that have already been referred to, all of which form part of a wider point in relation to this area, which is that the residents and the community and businesses fully support the London Borough's promotion of the daytime economy and all the wonderful things they have done with the North End Road Market, for the very reason that the nighttime economy is an area where we fear to tread for the issues of crime and noise and nuisance. I fundamentally believe, and I appreciate that I'm running out of time.
You have
that
run out of
everybody-
your time or almost, and I'm sorry, I have to stop you there. And thank you for your 5 minutes, and that is it. I'm going to ask somebody else to speak, and is Ingrid here yet?
No, Chair, just Charlotte Dexter now.
Okay, Charlotte, please, you make your presentation. Thanks.
Yes, thank you. Following on John's points, I submitted 5 CAD reports from the police, which we received from the police, which I hope that the committee has read. They're very short. They're very to the point. There are drug problems, drug deals right in front of this place. You know, this is a very big problem area on/within the curtilage of Walham Green, on the North End Road, the Banston Place. It's a problem, and we have clear evidence here that the problems are directly at the premises, in front of the premises, within the curtilage of the premises. So it's very important that this is seen by the committee and taken very seriously. This morning, I also, only because I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning, thinking about maybe there's some reviews on this place. And I looked them up, and I got up and I spent another 4 hours dealing with technology to get to you the 10 pages of these reviews where people clearly state that they ordered at 3:29 in the morning. Their food didn't come for whatever. They ordered at 1:28 in the morning. These are huge breaches of the law. Breaches of the law are, what are they? They're criminal activity. Criminal activity. That's what they are. And we need the committee to take seriously the criminal activity that this premises has been undertaking for whenever. Third, I want to say, I know that we're behind the times when it comes to the licensing authority actually looking at online sales and ordering online. I've volunteered myself to order and report back. They say it's impossible. I believe it's possible. We need more surveillance of online sales beyond the licensing hours so that we can prove to you, the committee, that it's happening, that it's wrong. The licensing authority doesn't have a means to do this, and yet all the sales are online. Part of the delivery economy. The way is forward. We need to be able to do this. The licensing committee itself needs to deal with this, please, offline somewhere, and come back and tell us that it's possible to use a horde of residents to bring in evidence and show you what's going on, okay? We also have the evidence of the drugs and so on. And I also want to say, so they applied for 2 a.m. They have 2300, they have 11:30 p.m. Okay, they applied for 2 a.m. You apply for 2 a.m. to go, sort of hope to get to 1 a.m. My point here is this. The police have made a silent point to the committee. The police have not said yes to 2 a.m. They've not suggested 1 a.m. They've suggested 12 a.m., i.e. 12 midnight. They've suggested they need to try a little bit harder, this place. It's sort of a silent nod to the problems at this premises. And this is the way that licensing police are now working. They're not telling us the real story. They're kind of giving us the story in code. It's code. So apply for 2 a.m. If we're not too much of a problem with that, we'll say 1:30 to keep everybody happy. And you'll agree to 1:30. But when we say 12, we're kind of letting everybody know there are problems here. But we're not going to talk about the problems. If the residents want to prove the problems to the committee, they have to go and get the CAD numbers and get the police reports. They have to beg, borrow, and steal almost to get those reports. I cannot tell you how much time it took my neighbor to get those 5 CAD reports, but it took a lot of energy, huge amount of energy and resource. And I hope that the committee takes those reports seriously. They are criminal reports. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Charlotte. That was 4 minutes for you, Charlotte. Thank you very much. Is Ingrid here yet? No?
No, Chair, there are no more resident objectors. The next objector to speak is Councillor Coleman.
Okay, what of Caroline? Has she spoken? She's on my...
She's not attending, Chair. She's not here.
She's not here. Okay, all right then. Okay, I'm sorry about that. Okay, we go to Councillor Coleman then to speak. Sorry. Okay.
You're on mute, Councillor Coleman.
Thank you. I'm going to try and say different things from things which have already been said. I have to say we're very fortunate to have residents who are so clear and articulate and have done so much research to substantiate the points that they've made, all of which I support. We are trying to revive North End Road. I'm leading the revival of North End Road, and I'm very grateful for the nice comments made about the planters and the things that we're trying to do to make it more pleasant. We also would like to have more of a nighttime economy, but that's a nighttime economy run by people in whom we have confidence, whose character we can trust and whose word we can trust. And I think we need to look before we consider anything with regard to extending the licensing hours in any way at all from the existing licensing hours. I think we need to look at the existing behaviour of the applicants, and it's been very well set out, some examples of their poor behaviour. And I'm amazed that we have sales until 3 o'clock can be made online, and people are clearly picking up food and going there online, and the applicant doesn't seem to think this is a matter which is important to address. But there are other issues. I've had a resident write to me and saying on public safety grounds that they would oppose this. On top of what's been said, there's even a cursory glance at the applicant's fleet of mopeds confirms accident damage. They're not operated in a safe, accident-free manner. The vehicles are routinely operated in the surrounding streets at speeds above the legal limits with poor compliance with traffic signs and directions. They fail to give precedence to pedestrians at traffic lights and crossings in particular. So we have an existing situation where we would expect certain conditions and certain behaviours to be adhered to, and they're not. And the applicant is not ensuring that the proper behaviour by their fleet of mopeds, that there is proper behaviour by their fleet of mopeds. And then we have a control of pollution. Couriers waiting for jobs cause disturbances. They dispose of trade waste on the highway as well as in domestic waste bins. And the applicant ought to be aware of this. They ought actively to be preventing violations of the rules, but they're not. We have to look at what the applicant's doing at the moment, and I think their behaviour is unsatisfactory. It isn't a right to trade anywhere, it's a privilege. They obviously provide food which many people enjoy eating, and that's a splendid thing. But for them to persuade, I would think, the committee that they should be given the right to extend their hours by 10 minutes, let alone half an hour and a half, or whatever it is that we're down to now, depending on the day of the week, they need to persuade us, I think, the committee, that their existing character is such that any assurances they make as regards the future will be kept. And at the moment, they're not doing what they need to. So my suggestion to the committee is both that you reject the application, but you attach to the rejection of the application some advice on what they can do to improve the way that they operate at the moment, so that they build the trust and the confidence of residents and the committee should they come back in future. But for now, I don't think they've earned the right to say that they're operating in a way, the character of which is sufficient for them to be given a serious hearing in putting forward this application. So I'd ask you to reject it.
Thank you, Councillor. And the Councillor spoke within 3 minutes. So adding that all up, that means 17 minutes on the whole. So we're going to have the applicants to speak. And the applicants, I'm going to allow you, all of you, within you three who wants to speak, it's going to be 17 minutes on whole. So Mr. Singh, if you want to start, or Edwin or Juliana, I don't know which one wants to start, but on the whole, you are having 17 minutes to speak. That's all the maximum I'm going to ask.
So good evening all. My name is Troy, I'm the operations director. Just give you a bit of history. So DFSI took over this store in particular October 2021. It was run by DFSI, actually operates in 8 countries. Our head office is in Chile. And we took over franchisees, like small franchisees, 5, 6, and some bigger ones across 21 and 22. I'm new to DFSI. I've come in 6 months now, actually 5.5 months. And Evelyn is the same. She joined from another company. So DFSI is trying to bring in management over here to look at it. So this is the history of it. So going back to where they said all along this has been happening, we have, and I know there's some comments on 2022. I'm not here to defend them. It is what it was. We are trying our best now to actually put in those processes as it stands. So that's a bit of a backdrop. So anything before October 2021, obviously lay in somebody else's hands. Our main issue was trying to get a management team within DFSI. It's Drake Food Service International. We operate mainly in South America, Central America, Iberia, and Spain. We only just came into the UK. So just a little bit of where we come from. So we do have checks and counterbalances. Going back to Fulham, when we didn't even know we didn't have a license to operate. Again, this is because everything was being patch bought and stuff. As soon as we were informed, we stopped that completely. So as soon as we were informed, that same day, 11 o'clock is when we started trading. And since then, we have not traded out of the license side. So we obviously, the board of directors have asked us to actually apply for it. And as you can see, we haven't brought any lawyers in or anybody. We come in as just people who work for the company, just like all the residents are. And may I say that I also live in the street as a resident. I take a bit of offense to, or maybe it doesn't, like a Papa John's. I live in quite a decent street. And sometimes I look out my window and I see drug deals going on, right? So I don't think it's about Papa John's. Crime, I've lived in London 35 years. We have knife crime in the tube station at 4 o'clock in the evening with loads of people. Do we close the tube station down now? As much as we try to blame Papa John's on it, I think anywhere, unfortunately, we've got crime, we live with crime day and there, and we suffer the same. Our staff members are abused and threatened and stuff like that. Again, from the point of residents, it is their experience, and I'm not going to even try to say anything against them. And I appreciate it's not, it couldn't be easy for them, but all we can say is from our side, from a compliance point of view, we are a new team. It's 1 hour more, I think 1.5 hours more. We will comply with whatever we have to do. And motorbikes, again, we could arrange for electric bikes to be used, after 10 o'clock or something like that, because we've got a fleet of electric bikes. Just a small thing on the fleet, that some of the motorbikes look like it. We actually have a company called Grafton. I'm sure you can Google it. A proper company that does all the servicing. It's leased by them. Just we pay a lot of money a month. I'm not going to go into how much we pay, but we operate at this moment in time 90 stores across the UK. So we're not a one-man band, and we're not here to make a quick buck. We're here to work with the community and also for us to thrive in the UK. So I'll leave it with that, and that's all I've got to say about us and what our representation is. I think Julian, do you have anything to add?
Yes. Hello. My name is Julianne, and I'm the marketing manager for DFSI M25. In relation to this store, so my job is to sort of monitor some of the Google.
Julian, please, could you speak up? We can't hear you. Thanks.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Much better, thanks.
So my job is to market the store, and obviously looking at some of the Google reviews that have kindly been sent across. Some of them are before our time, so I can't comment on what happened before we bought the store, or we acquired the store. And also on some of the Google reviews, although we know when the review was left, we don't know when the order was placed. So I would have to, sort of read it on face value. So unfortunately, I can't comment on any of those. But what I can say is that everything that Troy has said, we operate as a team here, and we're very committed to making sure that we can work with the residents and provide a professional approach to Papa John's in Fulham.
Thank you very much. You want to add anything? Sorry, we got Evelina. We're playing musical chairs because our main camera's not working.
Good evening, all. I'm Evelyn. I'm the HR manager, head of people for the FSI M25. Just to add to the team, I can assure from my side, again, we have a learning and development team that we built this year, and we can ensure that the team will be trained on conflict management, so how to best handle the conflict if it arises in stores and night basically trade. So we can assure that the whole team will be trained to basically stay compliant.
And I think as well, addressing the point that's been made about the bikes riding on the pavement.
You have finished, or have you got more things to add? You still have a few minutes.
Yeah, and I think just Evelina's point about the bikes, people going at speed. Look, we will train them. We'll most probably get them to send. They're already being trained. We've got 1,600 people that we are going through different phases of training. Again, all we can do is train them. There'll be people who'll be reckless. As long as we've got some sort of evidence, we'll take action, whether it be disciplinary, whether it be sacking, we will do that. And I think that's where the dialogue between maybe the residents and ourselves come in. I'm quite happy for my number to be given to the residents there, any part of the night, phone me. So that's all we'd say. So the training is part of that. Riding bikes, like all over, they do it. And we can only, for the people who work for Papa John's, we can train them. And subsequently, if we do get any complaints, we can try and act on them. So that's all we've got to say. And thank you for listening, all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now we have the committee, and the committee can each committee member to ask questions to any party about application or issues that they've been raised at this hearing. Committee members.
Councillor Chabot-Verdier would like to ask a question, Chair.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair. So the first question that's on behalf of the whole committee is to licensing. Apologies if this has been said before, but licensing, could you confirm to us what hours the business is operating under currently?
Just give me one moment just to get the report back up. Sorry, my laptop just froze for a second. The current license is from 2300 to 2330, Monday to Sunday.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Councillor Stanton.
Thank you. I don't know whether Councillor Chabot-Verdier has any further questions, but I have a question which is to follow up to that question, which is the current licence until 2330 is for indoor consumption only. I've had a look at the floor plan of the restaurant, and it seems to me there is actually no indoor facility for eating. Is that correct? That it's takeaway only? Okay, thank you. So effectively, even though the current hours are until 11:30, they're not, because that would be for takeaway only, and there is no facility for eating in store. If licensing could just confirm that to be correct, a correct interpretation. Adrian?
I think, yeah, no, Councillor, I think that's my understanding of it as well. I don't know whether the applicant could confirm that, but from looking at the plan, I don't believe there's any facilities for consuming the food indoors. That's correct. I'm not sure if the applicant is able just to confirm that fact. I'm not sure.
It is, yeah, there's no eating facilities per se in any of the stores, to be honest.
There are stores in there.
No, I'm talking about Fulham right now. There's a breakfast bar. Yeah. It's a breakfast bar. Maybe 2 people can eat in there.
Okay, thank you.
But what I would say is just being honest over here, although we could say that people could eat in there because of the breakfast bar, the trade would primarily be takeout. So delivery and most probably people walking in and taking stuff out. That would be primarily.
It's the existing provision that I'm thinking of. But thank you. I appreciate that. Can you possibly confirm to me? You said that you took over in 2021. Is that correct?
Yeah.
You took this shop over in 2021.
So it was a group of we've bought. So we've come from outside and we've bought different franchises who were wanting to sell out. So yeah, in 2021, I believe in October all the deal was done. Although we came in July, I didn't move until last year June. But yeah, so 2021 October-ish is when this store, part of a package of this store, was taken over.
Okay, thank you. And how was it that it actually came to your attention that you didn't have a late night refreshment license?
So that was, I think, some was it a trading standards or environmental officer went and obviously let us know. Then we started trying to get documents. We tried to get hold of the old owner, and then he said yes, it's still 11. And so it took us about a couple of days to scramble to get the documents. Although on the day we were notified, that same night we closed at 11.
Okay, and which night was that?
I think the 1st of December, 2nd December, the day we were told. 2nd of December, I believe.
2021 or 2022?
22. Sorry, 22. Yeah,
okay, yeah. So I'm sorry to be so pedantic. It's just that. Sorry, I'm shuffling papers in front of me. So give me 1 second. Because a warning letter was issued to you in October 2022, which was some month and a half prior to that.
Well, like I said, we were.
And also a year after you.
No, you're right. And if we had received the letter, I don't know where it was addressed to. I can only tell you what I know of the situation. As soon as we got a call in December, that same day, I was informed, and I just said, close at 11. We'll have a look at it later on. Then tried to get hold of the old franchisee Monday, Tuesday, I think Wednesday he confirmed, and then we went back, and just since then we've kept it close to 11 o'clock.
Thank you. A question for licensing, which was that I understand that some dummy purchases were attempted and were not successful. 2 at the end of November and 1 at the end of January. What time were those purchases attempted?
I don't actually have the exact times here, Councillor, but it wouldn't have been, a moment past the time that it was licensed. It would have been some time after that. We always make sure there's a buffer so that there's not any room for confusion on that. But yes, you're right. There was 2 in November and there was 1 in January that they passed.
Okay, thank you, Adrian. Well, in which case, can I ask the applicants why their website still shows Papa John's closing at 3 a.m? As of about 10 minutes ago.
No, 11 o'clock.
We've got here 11 o'clock.
Can you give me 1 sec? If any other councillors would like to ask a question while I just check something. In fact, actually, here we go. Without wishing to disagree.
No, he's looking at it. Sorry,
looking at it again.
I mean, I'm looking at it at the moment. and it says 3 a.m.
Just give me a minute, I don't know.
Same here.
There was a lot of papers, and I've read a lot of papers for the last 2 days, so forgive me if I have misread.
No, you're absolutely correct. The website,
Yes.
which we take care of. So we're just looking at it. We're just honest over here. So the web, again, technical issue. Any trade is done by a system called PDMS. So basically on that, if you put 3 o'clock, then you get deliveries in. If you put 11 o'clock, it closes down at 11 o'clock. Now, we are closed at 11. But you just need to, we're going to put in another call into Papa John's UK, the owner, the franchisor, the IT department to redo it. I know Julian had done it in December, but from my side, the PDMS, that's what we work on. That's what stops any orders coming in. So it shuts the system down at 11:15. So 11 o'clock, quarter to 11, the last orders, because it takes 15 minutes for pizza from making to dispatch. Quarter to 11, last order, 11 o'clock, the system shuts down, and then 15 minutes just for it to gather all its reports within the system. And then the system is shut completely.
Okay, so if you could just explain to me, when you say the system, this is your online ordering system?
Yes, that's the one.
Excellent. So what would happen if someone were to walk in and order a pizza?
Well, they couldn't, because the system would shut down at 11, quarter to 11, to be honest with you. Because it takes 15 minutes. So if we are closing at 11, any store, where we close at 1 o'clock.
I appreciate there's a lag between ordering and delivery, so that I understand that. So I just wanted to make it to be clear in my mind. There was also in one of the supplementary agendas, Charlotte Dexter, maybe you could remind me, because I think you submitted something. I have 3:17 a.m. in my head. Am I imagining that? Charlotte, you said there was a photograph taken at 3:17 a.m. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's a photograph. If I could just interject.
Sorry, please, yes.
Charlotte correctly referred to the fact that in my application and my complaint, which related to an event in September, I took photographs between 3:05 in the morning, and the last photograph of the dispatch rider arriving was at 17 minutes past 3.
Right, okay, fine, but that was in September. that event took place.
That was the one, but that's obviously not the only event, but it's the only event I witnessed.
No, I appreciate that. No, thank you very much. I think just one question, which is, I think, for any of the residents here, and perhaps Councillor Coleman, there was mention in quite a number of the objecting emails to litter. Now, I've never eaten from Papa John's, I'm afraid. I'm assuming that all of your packaging is branded. Is that, yeah, okay, fine. So this is, again, so the question to the residents who refer to litter, do we know, because it was Papa John branded litter, that this was litter from Papa John's, or was it just kind of generic, you know, that white paper that things come wrapped in, and greaseproof paper, or whichever?
In my experience, it's Papa John's litter, and it's the litter they leave on the pavement after a day's trading, but otherwise the litter we see is branded Papa John's.
Could you perhaps sorry, no, yeah, thank you. No, sorry, Charlotte, if you could you wait just for 1 second? Sorry. So John, can you expand on that? You say litter that they leave. I had assumed that it was, well, someone comes, buys a pizza, eats it and drops the pizza box on the ground, but you're suggesting that it's more commercial waste.
I think it's both.
Well, say, could just so I can understand, what makes you think that?
I've witnessed the commercial waste, and I believe in the application there are some very good photographs of the commercial waste issue.
Right.
And I live on a road where, sadly, I regularly walk out and see an array of Papa John's, KFC, McDonald's, and other wrappers, which are clearly identifiable.
Sure. Thank you very much. Charlotte, I don't know whether you had anything to add to that or...
It's Catherine.
It was Catherine. It wasn't me butting in this time. Sorry.
Oh,
no, I just wanted to say that it's definitely, I've definitely seen actual Papa John's pizza boxes on the street many, many times, and I have never ever seen a Papa John's employee come out and pick up a single bit of litter, and nor do the moped riders who just sit on their mopeds outside the restaurant. They never ever pick up their papers or their cigarette ends or anything. They just, in fact, I've actually seen them, I've actually witnessed them just throw papers onto the street while they're sitting there. So if you are going to be giving them training, if you could please include that in your training. And also, just to say that with regard the servicing of the mopeds, the servicing company actually comes to Walham Grove and services all the mopeds on the road, which causes congestion and is clearly not the place to be servicing mopeds. You know, please service them off-site.
Okay, thank you, Catherine. I'm going to stop now.
Okay.
For a minute or two, so.
Yeah, I have Councillor Florent. His hands is up. Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Chair. I want to pick on what the councillor has just asked, and that's to licensing. I'm going to ask you specific questions about the enforcement actions. In the pack, we have the knowledge that there's been a visit on the 21st of October 2022 that ascertained unauthorised late night refreshments. Could you tell us exactly at what time that was that the purchase was made?
Yes, Councillor, we need to just check in the letter for that one. I don't know if it's not outlined in there. We wouldn't have that information. If you can bear with us, we'll just have a look into that and we'll get back to you shortly on that one.
I would ask you a similar question for the attempts that you mentioned that were made on the 25th of November, 26th of November, and in January, to essentially understand what time an offence are we talking about. Is it 5 minutes past, 1 hour past, 2 hours past?
Yeah,
thank you.
So I know for certain, so for the other dates in November and January this year, we don't have the exact times for those. But as I mentioned earlier to Councillor Stanton, we make sure that we don't visit 5 minutes past the time. We always make sure that there's 10 or 15 minutes in case a clock isn't correct or there's some other issue. But again, I don't have those times, but I'll get back to you on the sale that took place in October, and I'll see if we've got that. That may well be included on the letter, actually. If we can just find that.
Okay, thanks, Adrian. I'm going to stick with you and ask you, several residents have shared with us the reference numbers for noise complaints. Obviously, a reference number you get when you submit a complaint, and that doesn't tell us about the outcome. So do you know, I appreciate you're not noise and nuisance and they're not here tonight, and they haven't chosen to make a representation, but can you tell us, or if any of the residents that are here tonight actually submitted that, can you tell us the outcome of those two noise complaints that are referred to?
I'm not able to, unfortunately, to give you the outcome of them, but I know that they wouldn't have been substantiated noise nuisance. If there was substantiated noise nuisance, that would have been passed to us in the licensing team, and that's something that we would have spoken to the premises about. So all I can say from them is that those complaints were received, they were registered, they were processed, added to the database by the noise team, but there was no further action as a result of those complaints. I'm afraid that's all I've got on those ones at the moment, fortunately.
Thank you. I wanted to ask you, this is just for my information, a resident has mentioned that Walham Grove is a residential conservation street. What's the status around that? If you could tell us more.
Well, so, I mean, in terms of our licensing policy, we have areas for town centres, mixed use and residential areas, and we refer to the local plan, the planning map, and the planning, that map refers to this particular premises as a town centre area. So it is, you know, that is slightly different to what's obviously been referred to as residents. But I appreciate it. There are residents very close by as well. So, but I mean, lots of Hammersmith and Fulham is like that, but that's how it's referred to in the local plan.
Okay, thank you very much. I might go down for harassment. I'm going to stick with you, Adrian.
No problem.
Adrian, last night we talked about some of the comments that are made by residents in public report packs. So I wanted to ask, in the determination to include the following sentence, what the expectation was that would influence our judgment one way or the other, and I'll read the sentence. The ethnic minorities that typically account for the majority of this segment of the workforce do not always see eye to eye. This is in the public report packs, and I was wondering what the inclusion was designed for.
Can I ask, Councillor, whereabouts that was? Was that a comment made by a particular resident?
This is page 52.
Yeah.
Can I speak to that?
I'm sorry, you cannot speak. It's only the councillors can speak at moments, and you know, only the committee members. Sorry about that.
Okay. Yeah. No. Okay. I can see that. Yeah. Okay, I mean, that's, you know, what our decision has been in the past to include any information that are included in representations, and we refuse representations if they're frivolous or vexatious. A decision was made on this representation that we would include it, that there wasn't any of those issues. But actually, after our conversation last night, we have spoken with our colleagues in legal, and we're looking more closely at representations. And actually, the report from last night's hearing has temporarily been redacted. So I think going forward, we will carefully look at comments in representations and may choose to redact those in future, but that's something that we're certainly looking to change.
Okay. And a final question before I let the others speak again, is my understanding correct that the business has an 11 till 11:30 p.m. license to do selling of food on the premises but not take away? I'm sorry, if you could go back over that, because I'm not sure I've understood.
That's correct, yeah. So it's got it indoors will allow somebody to come into the premises and consume the food in there, but it will also allow them to take that food away as well. And at the moment they've got that half an hour window for late night refreshment because a license isn't needed before 11 o'clock, so it's only that half an hour that they've got that for at the moment.
Okay, thank you. That's it for me. Sorry.
Sorry, just to add to that, Councillor, but there may be an error on that license. Honestly, there may be a discrepancy. We were just discussing this earlier on, that it should really be outdoors. If there's no facilities or there's just a breakfast bar there for people to consume food indoors, it may be that we might need to get the license amended, and the applicant might need to apply for a minor variation to amend that so that it just says outdoors only, you know, for that half an hour period.
Okay. And so we've spoken about the enforcement action. I'm going back to that. Sorry, it's a bit messy tonight. The enforcement action that was the test purchase 21st of October 2022. I appreciate you did some further testing, but we've got a lot of stuff the residents are saying around littering, crime, etc. Can I ask licensing again? Sorry. Have you thought at any time that the license actually, rather than being extended, should be reviewed in its entirety because of the actions and lack of actions of the applicant?
I think that's certainly something that we've thought of, hence the extra test purchases. So since the failed test purchase in October 22, we then carried out the other test purchases, which they passed. And appreciate there's an awful lot of evidence that residents have provided to us, but we always need to be really careful. Does it reach that benchmark of evidence, so to speak? Because any breaches of conditions are criminal offences, and we need to be aware that, you know, would this evidence be acceptable to the courts? And I think one of the issues that we've got, for example, some of the evidence that we've got from residents, which is very useful and means that we carry out test purchases, but for example, the online information, we can't actually be sure that sales have taken place at that time. And I know if we pursued a criminal prosecution against this premises, that a judge wouldn't accept that evidence because it's information that's online. So that's why we sort of continue with the test purchases. And unfortunately, the most, well, not unfortunately, but what it showed us is the most, you know, recent test purchases that the premises is complying. Whilst I understand that residents have obviously got a different picture, that's something that we'll keep investigating. But a review is something that we'll certainly always keep in mind if there's future breaches of conditions or breaches of licensable activities at the premises, definitely.
Okay, that's really helpful. Thank you, Adrian, and thank you, Chair, for now.
Okay. Thank you very much, councillors. I think you have covered most of the things, but I just wanted to ask the operators, the operator, how do they deal with litter that's come from their premises? How do they do the litters? What do you do when you have all those litters? Because, you know, the pavement is, I saw what was sent to us on litter. So how do you deal with litters that come out from your businesses?
So what should happen, and look, I'm being very fair over here, should and what happens is two different, but as long as we know what it, so they do a litter pick. The litter pick should be done every hour, so somebody goes around. Going back to the commercial waste, our commercial waste is taken by the council. Now they tell us to actually put it on the road at a certain time, sometimes it's 9 o'clock at night, some 7, we put it over there. So when we put commercial waste on the road, it's because the council come in and actually take our waste. Now, can I sit over here and go litter picking will be done all the time and we won't have any, that will happen as long as we are made aware of it, we do. So part of the training and part of the area managers when they go in, that will be part of what they visit and look at other things amongst that. So that's part of the area manager's job as well. From my side, obviously I visit stores, I've got 90 to visit amongst other things. When I go, the same thing we look at. And anything that comes to us, again, like we're quite happy to give a number to the residents. If anything happens, to just call us and we look at it. Now, it's not their job. We are saying we're going to put that in place. But in all honesty, like it could be a Sunday where they're busy and instead of going at 3 o'clock, they go at 4 o'clock. So between 3 and 4, there might be some litter there. Now, I'm just being realistic in what happens in real life, right? That's what happens. I could sit over here and promise everything and say there'll be no litter at all ever. It doesn't work because, you know, you could go in there now, clear everything up, and it takes one person to throw a box when you've got into the store and it's there. So
how often do your workers go around to pick up those litters? How often? Twice a day, once a day?
It should be during the busy period. It should be once every hour. So like they go on the hour.
Okay. You talked about servicing your bike. So how do you do that? Do you do the servicing within your premises? I mean, because you mentioned about having to service your bikes. So what happens?
So the company that services bikes is called Grafton's. They're the ones who lease it to us. So all the service. Now, this is news to me that they actually service it on the road. So that's something they're in breach of, not me. But I will speak to the managing director at Grafton's and tell him this is a complaint that's come through.
That's not their, because they service your bike.
Yes.
They shouldn't be on our road servicing their bikes. They shouldn't be on the residents' road servicing their bikes. You're supposed to tell them, could you take the bikes where they have to service it, give you a new bike, not them servicing it on the road. Okay.
So, I did say that's news to me, and I'll be speaking to my contact at Grafton's who deals with my account, and I'll definitely speak to him tomorrow morning.
Okay, I have another councillor that wants to speak. Florence, please. After that,
Chair, Dominic was first, but I personally.
Okay, Councillor Dominic, sentence. Sorry. first.
Oh, amazing. Thank you. Actually, it was just a question about the bikes. It was just really to confirm that I think the applicant said that you could have the facility for electric bikes. Is that correct? So were a condition to be put in that any deliveries would be made by electric bikes, you'd be okay. Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Florin.
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to ask, one of the things the residents have raised with us in their objections is that many, and this is, you can rest, Adrian, this is a question to the applicant. Many of the residents have raised that customers at certain times, but particularly late in the evening, will buy a pizza. And however, because you're not offering any eating sort of structures, seats, tables, etc. Essentially, they go to their cars and they eat their pizzas there, and they play music. And we understand the residents where the windows might be raised during the winter, they'll be down in the summer. So we can imagine how they feel and have to live with people eating pizza and playing music under their windows. Applicant, if you were in my shoes and you have to mitigate this, can I ask what you would do?
So look, we could put signs in there. At the end of the day, we're a business. We can we can have signs in there. It's the public. It's us that are doing it. So like, if people are going in and playing music, they could do it anytime. It's not because they're eating Papa John's pizza. They could eat nothing and choose that place because it's nice and leafy, or it's calm and play music. Look, what can I say? We cannot, but we can put all of the London's problems onto Papa John's in Fulham. It sounds like that way. I've had policemen talking in code. There's a lot of things I'm like quite flabbergasted. There's nothing more I can tell you. Like, we could do our bit. If somebody chooses to sit in their car and play loud music, even without eating pizza, they would do it. And we have people all over. It's not only where Papa John's is or Pizza Express or KFC. All we can do is put up signs, and most probably, how do we manage that? I couldn't police it. Right? How do my people sat over there police it? I'm also a resident. I mean, if somebody at 11 o'clock in the night is playing loud music, I'd be scared to go and even confront them to tell them to put the music down loud. I'm talking as a resident of where I live. And there's maybe I'm not talking about Papa John. So all we can do is put up the signs over there, and we can't monitor the road. I'm just being honest with you. I can't promise that I'm going to monitor, people playing music, whether they drive in bikes. I can only do what I can do for my drivers. Like I said, electric bikes, most probably will put it shorter. We can do some, going along litter picking. But look, we cannot, and I say this, no matter what the outcome is, we cannot put all of our blights based on Papa John's. So everything that's happening in Fulham now, it seems like Papa John's is creating it. We've got kids and adolescents who are running amok around London. I can only talk about London. I'm not interested in the rest of the UK. And we cannot just say it's because of McDonald's, it's because of Papa John's. There's loads of things happening all over the place. As I said before, we have stabbing in broad daylight in the tube station. So do we close the tube station down? I don't know. It's like, I can only tell you what I can do. We just sell pizzas, and that's all we do.
So I'm not putting all the problems in Fulham down Papa John. I appreciate your comments. What I wish you had said, however, was that because you understand the magnitude of the problem for residents and you want to be a constructive part of the solution, is that you would curtail or find a solution so that individuals actually might not be able to buy a pizza off your premises after a certain time, because actually deliveries to a fixed address that would be checked actually would guarantee the pizza is going to be eaten at a place where people are gathering, which is often indoors. Again, you could say it could be a back garden and that'll cause a problem. This isn't down to Papa John. I completely appreciate that. But it seems to me that the issue there is people, individuals. So would you be open to a solution where essentially after a certain time you're only accepting deliveries via your in-house delivery drivers?
Quite happy to. Obviously, I'm not very affluent with law, so maybe I came across. It's not that we don't want to help. We are talking about extending the hours, and we were talking about people playing music. There's not much I can do, but yeah, I'm quite happy after that just to have deliveries. No problems at all. No problems at all.
And Goethe, from our legal team, is this something that is possible?
I would like to ask Adrian how it can be enforceable, because
yeah, you can ask. I'm afraid that residents are not able to speak at this time because we give you 3 minutes to sum up. So you wait for that 3 minutes to sum up. We can't ask. You can't ask question, please.
Chair, I think the person speaking was Goethe.
it was me. Yeah. It
Oh,
was
no. Somebody put their hands up to speak. That's who I'm addressing.
Sorry,
to.
apologies.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, because obviously a lot of orders are going to be made online, I don't know how you can control somebody making an order online to be delivered by the delivery drivers of Papa John's, and whether it is something we can enforce by a condition. So let's say, for example, if I'm a customer and I put an order on the Deliveroo, I think I'm expecting a Deliveroo driver to come and pick up my pizza, rather than Papa John's delivering it with their own drivers.
Yeah, good point.
So I don't know whether, and maybe the applicant can confirm this, is there a way? I don't think there is, but I'm not an expert on this field. So is there a way, if somebody makes an order online through another platform, not yours, through, let's say, Just Eat, Deliveroo, or any other platforms that are out there, and I suspect they will send their own delivery drivers to deliver the pizza. So if we add a condition enforcing the applicant to use only their delivery drivers, I don't know how it will work in practice. I don't think it's workable. But Adrian and maybe the applicant can add to it.
Yeah, so the way it works is, so we've got Papa John's website, an app, so you can order on Papa John's website for delivery to your home or office. Then you got the aggregators, Deliveroo, Just Eat, and WhatsApp, and Uber. So Just Eat deliveries, by way of the contract, which should finish this year, we do all the Just Eat orders, we deliver. So the Papa John drivers deliver it. As far as Uber and Deliveroo are concerned, they deliver their own orders. So they'll come, pick it up, and just go off. So the only, I don't know, good or bad, but the only good thing is with the Deliveroo and Uber, if you think of it, they come, pick, and go away. My drivers, now, obviously, we can always say that we're going to keep them in after 10:30, 11 o'clock, but they are the ones that will be out there. Whereas Deliveroo and Uber, to be fair, they come, pick up, and they're out, because obviously they've got other places to go and other things to do. But that cannot be changed right now. Again, it's a contracting with Papa John's International, and we'll have to renegotiate up. It's way above my salary line. I can always put it across, but right now, as it stands, if it's delivery only, I'm quite happy. So you won't get people walking in and out. It'll just be delivery guys taking it and hopefully delivering it to people's houses or pubs or wherever they are, and having a party in somebody's house. I don't know. But yeah, it could be off that vicinity, if that makes sense. And I'm quite happy with that. It's not an issue at all.
Okay, thank you. And Gert, to follow up on this, so essentially a situation where people couldn't walk in after a certain time. Is that feasible?
I believe that what you said is you are happy for a certain time after 11 p.m. to do delivery only rather than letting customers in.
Sure.
Am I correct understanding that?
Yes. And obviously, we'll put some signs up after 11 o'clock, delivery only. We might get some, obviously, people walking in, especially on a Friday at 11 o'clock with a couple of beers, might want to challenge that. So that might be that. But from our side, we'll keep it closed and just put delivery only.
So for me to have it clear when the councillors will deliberate, so you are minded to accept whatever the deliberation will be made later, to do delivery, takeaway only from your premises.
No,
All the not
sorry,
allowing
yeah, delivery, right?
delivery only, not allowing customers.
When you say takeaway, it could be somebody walking in. So the way we call
Yeah,
it is
delivery
collection.
only. Sorry, yeah. Yeah. Okay. So,
I'm quite happy
Councillor,
with that.
yeah, Councillor Chevauverdier, is something that you as councillors will have to decide when you deliberate after you heard all the parties tonight, whether it's something you would consider. It is
Okay.
something that certainly can be added to the license.
Thank you, Gerda. And because we have
But
to...
Adrian, is it correct? Although the applicant has applied for indoors and outdoors, we can amend it to take away if he's agreeing to that tonight?
I think actually, sorry, just looking at it, because there's indoors and outdoors is what they've applied for, and they've obviously applied for later hours, then you could just say, well, we're only going to grant it if members were minded for outdoors for those times, and then say, have a condition on there saying deliveries only. So yes, I mean, it would be different if they'd only applied for indoors. You couldn't just add outdoors on, but in this instance, I think because they've asked for outdoors, you could have that and then restrict the hours. Yeah, if that was what members wanted to do.
Thank you both. I wanted to ask, because I can see that we've got Lucilla and John on camera, which means they're around, what their opinion is of this. Sorry, Chair, if this is a bit lengthy, but just, am I allowed to ask the resident?
You can ask the residents, but yeah, you can ask them.
Okay. Lucilla, if you want to go first, just to get your opinion on
Yeah,
what we've just
I
talked
was going
about.
to say that I take the point about pinning all the blights on Papa John's is unfair, but we.
I'm sorry, Lucinda, we can't hear you.
Oh, sorry, I have unmuted. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
We can
Okay,
hear you.
it might be my poor reception. So I take the point about not pinning the blights of Fulham and London onto Papa John's, which is a bit unfair. But I think we could mitigate them by not having Papa John's open till the early hours of the morning for the reasons I outlined earlier. But if they were to consider a system where the pizzas are actually leaving the premises and going elsewhere, and not encouraging people to come to the premises and hang around, which is where I think some of the troubles start, that might be an option to consider, a halfway house.
Okay, thank you. And John?
Look, my only comment is that the noise and nuisance is primarily driven by the massive numbers of dispatch riders, and their operation late at night is what wakes residents up and disturbs them. And quite rightly, I think the applicant has made a nod towards using electric vehicles, which they can control, but all the other operators can't control that. So creating a later environment which will attract, as the applicant says, he's happy with delivery only, will, in one sense, of course he is. As he says, they come in, they go out, they speed down our roads, they scratch our cars, they make a lot of noise. And the later the hours, I think the 4.5 hours a week, which this application in its revised form would lead to, is 4.5 hours of more noise and more disruption to local residents.
Okay, thank you both, and thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions to them? And if not, we're going to go to summing up. And can I ask the licensing officer to sum up first?
Nothing further to add, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Can I ask John Scolding to have 3 minutes in summing up? John, 3 minutes, please.
Yeah, thank you. So I think nice words on a hearing and actions in the last month don't correct many months of inaction and breaches. I completely agree with Councillor Coleman that there needs to be a period of sensible consultation and thought about how these issues are addressed. I would like to hear more from the applicant about the impact on local residents, whether we call it a town centre or not. The 14 immediate roads off the North End Road are all residential, 100% residential. And so I think the impact and the proximity of those residential roads is clearly a relevant factor in this. It's unfortunate we've got a new management team. They've been in since 2021. They can't amend their website, which says they're selling till 3 o'clock in the morning. And there are certain things that they didn't even know about until this call this evening. So unfortunately, the systems that are in place don't necessarily help them meet with the reality of what's on the ground. And I actually think that's a good reason why I would ask you to reject this, and then but ask them to come forward and consult with us, talk to us about measures, for example, front of house staff who could patrol the music issue with cars, which is a very real issue. Interesting that the applicant himself said he wouldn't go out because he's terrified. Well, welcome to the reality of residents in Fulham, which has been created late night by businesses that are allowed to operate more and more or later and later hours. That, I know he knows what it feels like because he's just described it himself. And I'm exactly in the same position. But I think you don't address these issues by just giving them 4.5 hours more trading time a week without looking at the fundamental problems first.
Thank you, John. Well said, 3 minutes. Can I ask Catherine, please, to sum up? 3 minutes. Thanks.
Yes, hello. I'd second everything that John said. I do not think that Papa John's at this point, this branch in Fulham at any rate, doesn't deserve to have longer hours because they don't have the correct systems in place to monitor things. As I said previously, I have never ever seen a Papa John's employee come out onto the street to pick anything up. So I really don't think that that's happening at all. And also, I'd like to say that, please, we do not need to increase the number of moped drivers at all. I mean, already, as a resident of this street who's lived here for, since 2005, I'm shocked at the number of people just sitting on mopeds at that end of the street. It just, it causes so much congestion. We don't need any more drivers. So, and I certainly think that this point about electric vehicles is very important because we cannot have, that noise up and down the street. And we won't be able to monitor, and Papa John's won't be able to monitor which ones are electric and which ones aren't. I mean, that if they can't even change the hours on their website, it's just not going to happen. So I don't think that they have the right systems in place at the moment to in any way, help the residents and they didn't consult the residents in any shape or form. And they haven't made no effort to sort of integrate and be part of the community here. That's it for me.
2 minutes exact. Can I ask Lucia to speak? Thank you.
Well, I do see what John and Catherine are saying. So I do agree with what they're saying. I'm just sort of trying to hand olive branch a little bit to Papa John's, who are clearly trying to run a business. But I think they've got to understand that we are residents, and it is troublesome. I have photographs in front of me actually here of the litter and the rubbish. It is a magnet for people to hang about and with nothing better to do, really. They're not being supervised or observed because most people are not in the street in those hours. And so, to be honest with you, I'm going to be absolutely frank, I would prefer Papa John's not to open beyond 11 o'clock. And I think some due diligence needs to be done as well for the very points that John and Catherine have raised. So I think that's my piece said as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Just 1 minute. Charlotte, please, 3 minutes to sum up.
Yes, thank you. And in future, residents, yield your time to the next person. Yield your time. It's leftover time. Okay, I'm very concerned when the Papa John people say he wasn't aware of the litter. That says to me that you haven't walked around the neighborhood at different times. You haven't even walked, 25 feet from your own shop. You need to walk around a bit more, please. Second, a lot of burden is being put again on the residents. We have to call noise nuisance. We make complaints. They're not followed up. Noise nuisance doesn't pass things on to the licensing authority. We have to pass them on in our representations. We have to keep track of things. We have to have meetings with the applicant. You're going to put a condition on that he has to have a meeting with us. Great, but we go to these meetings all the time and very, very little happens. We need action from these people. We need conditions that require action from the applicant, please. Not just meetings with residents that really get nowhere because they're an obligation, they're a tick box. Oh, we had our meeting. Thank you very much. It's terrible. Wastes a whole bunch of time. The licensing authority has to be at the meeting. They sit around, minutes are made, tick box filled, and nothing happens. This is happening all around Fulham Broadway. It's a huge problem. It's a big burden on residents. Regarding the local plan, I would like to ask in future that a map be put with these agendas, because I have a local plan map that shows that exactly this corner is not in town center. And in fact, I keep looking here. I'm sure in the agenda pack, you said it was a mixed use area. You do say on page 5 under background that it's a mixture of both residential and commercial. So that's mixed use, but it's also residential. So usually what you do is kind of look for a compromise. And that's why the compromise is 2330 now. And it should not go any longer than that, for that very reason, that it's mixed use and residential, and it's in between, and it's not in town center. So town center has nothing to do with it. I'd also like to say about Grafton, so they also service Domino's Pizza on Barclay Road. And what they do is they put the motorcycle, and they take it all the way down our road and use the area at the end of the road to service it. So they're not serving it in front of the premises. This is another huge problem. It's a planning problem. It's a licensing problem. We've spoken with many, many people. Nobody will help us. Maybe Councillor Coleman, now that he's heard about this, I'll send him an email and maybe he can find the people to help us. Grafton has to have contracts that they literally take the stuff away to garages, the real garages. Otherwise, we're going to
it's 3 minutes. Yeah, minute is up.
Yeah. Okay. I'd also like to say that this 3-minute thing, there's a high court decision on this, and we need a different approach here. We have very sincere things to say. Thank you very much.
Can we have Councillor Coleman, please?
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, as I was saying, you've got a business. Businesses need to do business, and no one's stopping that. People need to eat pizza. But you've got to be sure, if you're going to extend the time of this particular business, that they're doing what they can. And I have to say, I'm a bit disappointed by some of the answers we're given. The whole issue about Evelyn, you said, oh, you don't know when the orders are made. Well, one of the examples in the supplementary says the order was made in the last 9 months, so that's since you've taken over, at 1:39 a.m. Page 43 of the papers, the basic papers, say a local business walks home at 3:30 to 4 a.m. and they'd even bought pizza from you at that time. So you have got a couple of very clear recent examples of people buying pizza well after you are meant to be shut at the moment. Troy, you said, how do I police it? What does KFC do? I'll tell you what KFC does at North End Road. It shuts at 11 o'clock. That's what it does. What does McDonald's do, you say? I'll tell you what McDonald's does, because I've gone in there and talked to the manager. They go down Haldane Road once an hour and clear the road. They sometimes I have to remind them to do that, but they don't have to be pushed in front of a licensing committee and make these commitments because they want to get an extra half an hour or an hour and a half on their license. They do this. So there are other good fast food takeaway places in North End Road, which are already doing the sort of things that we're only now talking about you doing. I think that what we need to see is some, you've been running it for 16 months. That's not negligible, that amount of time. It's not, even if you didn't do, it seems to me, the due diligence to know whether you had a late license or not for quite some time. And I would, if I was taking over a business, I think I'd do my due diligence before, not 12 months later, once the police brought something to my attention. I think it's been a bit relaxed, your approach. I don't think you want to be relaxed in the future. I think all the things you're saying tonight are good news, but I wouldn't, if I was the committee, be minded at this stage to extend your license. I'd be minded to say, let's see if you sharpen up your act the way that you're promising. Let's see if you do not just say, well, young people sit in cars and stuff, because you know that doesn't cut any mustard. It wouldn't cut any mustard with you if I was saying it to you. You know, people are buying your pizza, they're sitting outside having a chat. That doesn't happen after 11 o'clock at KFC because they're shut. So I wouldn't extend your license at the moment. I would give you a chance to ponder on the things that have been said here. And then I would, obviously, you may wish to come back at a future date and say, I've done all these things, see what residents say, who you will have engaged with in a different way from now. And who knows, the committee, if they turn you down today, might be minded to look at things differently in the future. But you've not proved really that you're fulfilling your obligations enough sufficiently at the moment to be given the privilege of an extension, is my view. And that may well, however, happen in the future, and I hope that can be the case.
Thank you, Councillor. 12. I'm going to allow you 12 minutes to speak. So the applicants, whichever one of you want to address us, 12 minutes you're allowed, because all those people spoke for 12 minutes, not
It's
more
fine.
than that.
Thank you for giving us the time. We've said what we had to say, and that's all we can put it across. I don't want to say anything else at all.
Case, we have to say thank you to all of you, and the committee will now retire to take its decision on a separate meeting room. An adjournment style will be displayed during the deliberation. We will come back and at the end of it tell you what we decide to do. So please bear with us. So councillors, please can you join me in the team?
She said everything. I thought it was you.
We walked over Chelsea Road and then walked the entire
Chair, the committee are back. Are you going to announce the decision, please?
I have to log back out and start again. Sorry.
Charles,
Yes, Councillor.
so what's
The chair joined, unmuted herself, and has now lost connection to the meeting at the moment.
okay?
I think she said she was restarting.
Yes, the chair will log off and log back on because she's having trouble connecting. So just give us one moment, please.
Sorry, is the vice chair allowed to make the announcement?
Charles, can you advise if the it's coming back? Because it's just at this stage, it's just reading the paper, which we've all agreed. So.
I appreciate that. Yes,
I'm just double checking with the chair whether she's been able to log on. We'll wait for 1 or 2 more minutes, and then Councillor Chabot-Verdier, you can read the summary decision letter.
Okay.
I think I can see Councillor Ome trying to log on.
I'm so sorry. I just had a technical problem there. I'm sorry again. I do apologize. Charlotte, your hands are up. Is that okay? Is everything okay? Okay. Yes. Thank you for waiting. I'm really sorry. Just to say that the committee has considered the application for variation of existing premises license under the Licensing Act 2003 for the premises for late refreshment. The application, in summary, the committee has decided, after taking into consideration all the individual circumstances of this case and the promotion of the 4 licensing objectives, to reject the application. A copy of committee's full decision, including its reason, will be sent to the parties forthwith. Oh my God. Forthwith. And if the applicant is unhappy with the decision, they are entitled to appeal to the magistrate court within 21 days of the date of notification of the full decision. I would like to thank everyone for attending or watching tonight's meeting. A summary decision will be published on council website tomorrow. Thank you all. Thank you. I'm sorry as the first technical problem we had. I'm really sorry.